What is up, guys? Elias here.
And Cole, the co-host of the InspoCast, where we bring future fitness superstars straight to your ear. And before we get into our awesome guests for today, we want to let you know about all of our awesome guests and how you can hear about all of the awesome guests that we've had on here. So tell them where they can find us.
Make sure you guys follow us on TikTok and Instagram. That's inspo._cast. And make sure you guys go check us out on YouTube and Spotify. And we're going to be also expanding to other platforms.
On top of that, also check out InspoCast.com, which is our website. That is going to feature all of our social media links. It has a calendar with every single guest that we've had on there, description, and it will take you straight to the video. But that is all we got for shameless plugs. Without further ado, let's get into our guest for today.
Lift off. Start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We have ignition.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Episode 25 of the InspoCast today with our good friend, Mr. Jakob Carroll, reigning from the Midwest, Cincinnati, Ohio, baby. And it's a pleasure to have you on. Also, you'll probably notice we don't have the boy here. We do not have Elias. I won't say where he's actually at, but no, I'm just kidding. No, it's his brother's graduation party today. He just graduated college. Congrats to you, Saul. And actually go check out episode 12 because we had him on there. But he will not be with us today. It's just going to be me riding solo, but with an amazing guest that we have. So I wanted to start with first kind of how this, I always like to talk about at the beginning, just like how we line these podcasts up in general, because I think you reached out, what was it, like 6 weeks, maybe 2 months ago?
Yeah, maybe 2 months.
Something around there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when the Willie podcast was coming out, I think.
That's right. Yeah. So it was after the Willie podcast or right around that time. And I didn't know you before then, I don't think. Maybe I'd seen you pop up here and there, especially on TikTok too. And obviously we'll get into that. But you're just like, hey, I love what you guys are doing right now. This is awesome. I would love to come on. And I remember at the time we were pushing so many episodes. Like we went from that episode to 24 in like, 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah. I mean, we were bumping them out. And yeah, I know for the guests out there, hey, you're probably like, hey, where the fuck these podcasts been? We have a lot in store. We'll just put it at that. But I was like, hey, look, just wait it out a little bit. Come June time, maybe late June, let's line something up. And then, what was it, like a week or two ago, I think I reached out again. I was like, hey, look, dude, now is like the best time ever. If you got some time available, like let's run this up and let's do it. And he was down. He's like, hell, I'll even make the drive. So shout out to you. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
A little cheers to you.
Thank you for having me on.
The pleasure's ours, my friend. We're bringing future fitness superstars on the podcast, and you're most definitely one of them for sure. And for the people that don't know you out there, like talk about yourself a little bit. Like, who are you in like a general sense? Obviously, people know your name now. Yeah. But kind of like what's your niche? And how did you get started in all of this in terms of fitness, the content, this community that we're in?
So I really started posting content because I'm a type 1 diabetic. And when I got diagnosed, you kind of hear a lot of what you're not going to be able to do. And nobody really tells you what you're going to be able to do. And it turns out that a lot of what they tell you you're not going to be able to do is incorrect. They're trying to get you to play it safe and make things easier. And I actually connected with an MMA fighter named Jordan Williams, who, because that's actually my ultimate goal is to be a fighter. And I had never seen a diabetic in any big promotion before. So that was kind of hard on me to not really have any role models in that arena. And then I connected with Jordan and we talked back and forth for a while, and then he actually ended up making it to the UFC, so that was huge for me. And when I thought about it, I was like, I could apply myself, and I was already into fitness at this point, but I was like, I should start putting content out there, and hopefully that will reach somebody, and I can have that same impact on someone out there that Jordan had on me. So yeah, that was my original goal, was just to help people with diabetes, autoimmune diseases, mental health disorders, anything like that. Just help somebody make a positive change in their life.
So that was your origin story, so to speak, right? Okay. And I didn't know that. I didn't know you actually wanted to be more in the fighting, the boxing, the UFC scene than anything. I actually don't remember if you mentioned that at all before. So right now, do you do any form of like martial arts currently?
So I've trained on and off since I was 18, but it's so expensive. Like you kind of have to, if you're going to do it, you kind of have to throw everything into it. And I really like having car insurance and stuff like that. So it's definitely a goal of mine, but I want to set myself up financially a little bit better before I throw myself into that.
100%. And also, side note, this is just for the audience. This is the funniest motherfucker on social media in this community. I'm just letting you know that first and foremost right now. And hey, we'll make sure to leave all the links in the description down below for you to go check out. And we'll talk more about some of the content too. But so the origin story is type 1 diabetic, right? Inspired by another individual wanting to make it, inspire other individuals in the same way that you were impacted, right? And so that led to you starting to post content.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, that we have on this podcast are more in like this fitness motivational sphere in the sense of transformations. And obviously you've had a transformation yourself too. Don't get me wrong. But like in terms of your content, that's not necessarily your primary focus. Your primary focus is actually like, what you got going on up here and the creativity that you have there. So when did that start to come in play? Like, how did you kind of figure out like that was going to be your wheelhouse?
So when I first started posting content, it was like full workouts and pretty much the typical stuff that you see influencers post. And I realized like there's plenty of outlets for people to get this content, and they're from sources that are probably more trustworthy than me, big, huge influencers. And I just kind of thought like, it's not that people wouldn't see this and trust me and want to follow my workouts and stuff, but there's just other sources for that, but there's no other sources for me. So, and when I started to post just ranting and saying the shit that I normally scream in my car anyway, that's when I started to see things change as far as like my platforms go.
Actually like invoking that originality behind like who you are. Like obviously you do a lot of things, but now you're showing like your actual personality too. I know a lot of people out there, like I even think about myself too, like I got a lot going on up here too, but I don't share it as much as I should. And part of that, some sort of, maybe an insecurity, but just like fear of judgment or whatever that may be, right? How did you get over that block, so to speak, and just say like, fuck it, I'm going to like go out there and I'm just going to be myself and I'm going to post stuff like for me,
Honestly,
or did you even have that?
Oh yeah. I was always afraid of judgment, but it just got exhausting. I was tired of it. I was like, these people, it's not that I don't value their opinion. It's just like, they're not paying my bills or anything. Like it just, and then of course, seeing other people talk about it, like Willie talking about it. One Dat Willie, shout out One Dat.
Yeah. Shout out One Dat Mindset. Yep.
And plenty of other influencers talking about it. And then they also you always hear like when you're good at something, other people will tell you, like you don't need to convince yourself. And when I started posting like that, I just had such an outpouring of support from people, like complete strangers. And you got to listen to what those people are saying.
Not only complete strangers, role models too, right? Like, we were talking before the podcast even started about some of the people that you've been able to be in contact with just because of what you're posting, which is like super, super cool. So yeah, I'm curious about one, kind of like, what would you say like your demographic is? Like, who are the people that follow you? And two, like, I want to hear some of like, the people that you've actually been able to inspire as well, but two, who you've been able to get in contact with. And I guess like going forward, where you think that's going to lead you long-term. Cause I mean, this seems like this is something that you've committed yourself to, right?
I'm committed.
And you want to further yourself in terms of posting your content and making a bigger impact. So I do want to hear about long-term where you're going, but just start first with like, who's your audience?
That's a good question. Degenerates, probably. If you think I'm funny, you probably got a couple screws loose. But
Oh, fuck, I got screws loose. Damn it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, though. It's
No,
there's
there's
kind
not.
of people. But
All of us in the fitness sphere have fucking screws loose. That's
you know,
the damn
that's how you
truth.
get started. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know. It's all different people. There's not really one demographic that I can nail down. It's a lot of different people. Yeah.
A lot of different
They're
people.
all over the place.
What kind of support do you get? Like, what kind of messages do you get from people in terms of, like, you know, impact?
I've had, well, obviously this started with a weight loss journey. When I was a freshman in high school, I was like 320 pounds, I think. And then I didn't get into fitness, but I started eating healthy and stuff like that. And I'm at like 200 now. So it's a little bit north of 100 pounds. So a lot of people reach out about the motivation for weight loss when they see my transformation videos and stuff like that. I have had a few either diabetics or a lot of parents that have kids that are diabetics have reached out, but those can get kind of weird sometimes. Like the first one I ever got, and I was so excited, like I finally, because that's a small community of people with autoimmune diseases and stuff, but the first one I ever got, I don't even know if I should say this on here, but we'll run it.
You don't have to say names. You can just tell the story.
So it was a guy that reached out, and he was like, hey, my wife always sees your TikToks, and we have a daughter that just got diagnosed with diabetes, and she shows her your videos every day and stuff, and it really helps like show her that she's capable of whatever she wants to do in life. And I was ecstatic. Like that meant the world to me. And then it just went real south. He was like, yeah, hey, I'm actually like an hour from you. Do you think you could come fuck my wife? I was like, all right, well, I mean, no, for starters.
Yeah, I'm going to pass, bro.
Yeah, but I do really appreciate the compliment. And keep watching the videos. I hope your daughter does great things.
God. I thought it was going to have to do something with that. I thought it was going to be the daughter, though, but it's the fucking wife.
Yeah.
Damn it. The shit that you go through, I swear, dude. So I do want to hear about, so I have two friends in particular that actually have type 1 diabetes as well. And I was actually like in upbringing with them when they were going through their crisis of even figuring out in the first place what the hell was actually going on with them. I had one friend, I mean, he was pretty damn north of actually dying, you know, like because they couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with him. And then once he finally got medicated, you know, got on insulin, like everything, you know, just spun right back around and he was solid again. But talk a little bit about like, so when did you first like actually figure out that you were a type 1 diabetic? And then like, what was your experience like? Obviously, I mean, felt like shit for sure, but like that whole experience and then finally actually getting, do I call it medicated? I don't know exactly what I would say.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to be incorrect with the terms, but you understand what I'm saying at least. Yeah, if you're open to it, just talking about like that story in the first place.
So my dad is actually a type 1 diabetic, and they had kind of always told me that I would probably end up having type 1 diabetes, but I think I was 14, I want to say. I think it was the summer between 8th grade and freshman year when I got diagnosed, or maybe a little bit into freshman year. But I was always overweight, but I think I was on a camping trip with my grandpa, and over the course of the day that I was there, I drank like 3 12-packs of pop and like 3 cases of water. I just could not stop drinking and peeing, and that's like the number one sign that something's off. So yeah, I ended up going and getting checked out, and actually originally because of my weight, they didn't look into it too deeply, and they diagnosed me with type 2 diabetes.
Oh shit.
And then they came back in and they were like, actually it's type 1. So
you are fat, but it is type 1.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, and then I definitely started to feel better once I got on insulin. But that's a hard transition. Usually a lot of diabetics are diagnosed when they're younger, so they kind of grow up like that. But when you go from being able to eat and drink anything you want, and I was eating and drinking everything I wanted at that point. So having to make that transition was definitely hard. And I really struggled for a long time with my diabetes management. I really to be honest, didn't get it together until this year.
Really?
Yeah, I got an insulin pump maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I've been on top of it since then, which that's changed the game as far as fitness goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because up until I got my pump, about a year prior to that, I was still training and everything, but I wasn't taking care of my diabetes pretty much at all. And I just never really realized how much that was killing all the effort that I was putting in, because my body was essentially eating itself. So I knew that I was definitely a lot weaker than normal, but the second that I got on my insulin pump, all of my lifts went through the roof.
So when you say taking care of your diabetes, just dive into that a little bit more, because I'm curious myself too, what in particular you mean. Obviously the insulin pump, making an investment in yourself in that regard to stay on top of it is a good thing. But like other factors that you're referring to when you're saying not staying on top and taking care of it.
So I just really wasn't taking insulin like I was supposed to be.
Okay.
Like just not correcting for food, not checking my blood sugar and stuff like that. I was just being lazy. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, like, now are you feeling better as well too?
Yeah.
Than you said? Okay,
Yeah.
got you. Because I was curious too. Like, once you got diagnosed with that, I'm guessing that, and I think you preluded to it before, but that was the thing that kind of instigated at least changing the diet, correct? So what kind of changes did you make? Because obviously you went from, I mean, being 320 to 200, yes, but now you're dealing with another underlying autoimmune condition, which is another huge factor you got to deal with. So like, what kind of changes did you make? And I guess like, what were the struggles that you had initially when trying to go through that transitional period in terms of like your habits and nutrition?
Mostly the struggle. I mean, obviously I had to cut back, and that was more so just hard for me because I was a fat kid. I didn't want to stop eating pizza and stuff like that. But I really just I didn't know shit about nutrition at that time. I was probably starving myself, but I was trying to eat clean and do what I knew. And that's when I lost most of my weight. And then, yeah, I mean, it was mostly just cutting back on food and stuff like that, not eating stuff I didn't need.
Okay. And now it's probably, I mean, you've learned shit along the way too, especially about nutrition, especially being in this little niche that we're in, you know, in terms of like, not only is just the quality of your food, you got to eat enough food too, you know, like all those different kinds of factors. Another thing that I thought about before we got on this podcast was, one, I talked to you about it. It was just like, this community is actually really small when you look in the grand scheme of things. And we like basically know all the same people. We follow the same people and stuff too. And like I asked earlier, some of those people have actually reached out to you as well. Like who have been some of the people that have like reached out? Was there anybody that was like crazy? You're like, holy shit, I can't believe they actually like commented on my fucking post. And like, what's kind of been like your interactions with some of them?
Definitely the Jacked Italian and cousin Josh Bryant. Those guys are probably, like, if I had to choose fitness influencers to be, it would be those guys. I love how they do content creation. Like they literally just do whatever the fuck they want and enjoy life and make content while they're doing it, and they still inspire people and help people, and they still, like, even as they've gotten more and more famous, I guess you would say, they've still stayed accessible. Like, you can still talk to those guys and they're still willing to help you with whatever you need. And of course, when you get that big, you're not going to see every message and stuff, but they still make an attempt to stay accessible to everyone and be helpful and all that. So those guys reaching out really meant a lot to me.
And I like how you phrased it of like, you know, if I could be anybody, I would be them. And I just look at your content, and I've seen plenty of their stuff. Trust me.
Yeah.
You like obviously different types of content, but you guys mimic each other in the sense of like I know with Mark O, dude does not give a flying fuck, and neither does Josh. Like, neither of those guys give a flying fuck about what comes out of their mouth. They're just gonna put it out there, and they're gonna leave it out there. and you kind of abide by those same standards too. So I think it was kind of a no-brainer for them to reach out too, because they're like, okay, I relate to actually what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Jacked Italian, Cousin Crypto, future collab.
What up, gang?
With the senor over here, maybe coming to Miami.
Hopefully.
Oh my gosh, that would be so sick.
Yeah, it would.
It would. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about obviously like what your upbringing was in terms of, overall fitness. We've talked about obviously diabetes. That's a big topic for us as well, and going into the future. Well, I guess not going to the future, more like the people that you've been in contact with. I guess like long term in terms of content. Where do you want to go with everything?
So I feel like everybody kind of tries to like give one goal or like one reason why they do what they do, and I have a lot of them. Like there's a lot of reasons why I do this, and some of them are unselfish and some of them are selfish. I feel like people are afraid to say that they make content because they want to make money or they want to have the followers and stuff. And the followers, like the numbers don't matter to me. As long as I'm helping people, that's all that really matters to me. But of course I want to go do like the alpha lands, and I would love to still see zoo culture, even though that's kind of fallen off recently. But
yeah,
I would still love to see. I want to go do all that. I want to be able to go and see the world and stuff. And I obviously you're going to need money to do that. And I would love for this to be my career, to make this content, help people, and then be able to go see the things that I want to see as a byproduct of that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This is some foresight that I've had personally in terms of what you're saying, which is the financial investments, right? Because people will just think like, oh, you just fucking blow up and you're making all this money. Yeah, whatever. It's like, bro, you don't understand how much money some of these people have poured into whatever they're really just investments into themselves, right? Whether that be relocating to a new position or, buying new equipment or investing in the supplementation, like any of those kinds of things. It's very expensive. Like I was telling you this before, in 2 weeks going out to Houston, like that was a pretty penny. Like that was not cheap. And like I'm actually planning on moving out there in January, and I'm like planning now to do that because otherwise like there's no way in hell you can even pull it off. So there's a lot of risk that's associated with it, but at least from what I understand, especially in a place like, Houston or even LA, once you make that investment, it's going to suck for the first couple months, but it's going to pay itself back inevitably. Yeah. So yeah, those are big things, folks. Like if you were trying to invest yourself in the fitness game, obviously you need to invest in your physique first and foremost. I do full-heartedly believe that, because people are going to listen to jacked people, unfortunately, unless you are that original. Like I think Josh is a one-off, right? Although he does look good, he's not like fucking jacked, or somebody like you. I think you have that potential as well. But for a majority of people, it's going to be your physique. But after that, then you got to figure out what your specific niche is and then go all in on that for sure.
See, and Josh is a really good example, because we've kind of I've followed him for a couple years maybe, and we've seen him go through transitions where he was shredded and then kind of fell off for a little bit, but that never, well, I mean, aside from the fact that he gets banned once a month on TikTok and Instagram and all that, and he's constantly creating new accounts, but it was his personality that kept the followers there through all of that transition.
Did you see the legacy loading episode with him on it? Mm-mm. Oh, okay. Because he talked about all that stuff too, in terms of like how he fell off in terms of his fitness and how he got back on. And the other thing that's cool about him too, he doesn't really, I mean, yeah, he's in this fitness sphere 100%, but that's not like where all of his time is spent either. He has his toes dipped in like a couple different things. He's like, in terms of the crypto side, yes, and there's a lot of people that are invested in crypto. He's gotten the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people because of that. Yeah. And right now, since crypto's taking a shit, he's, starting to pour more of his time into fitness. But that's another thing too. That's what keeps him viable all the time, because, if we're talking about crypto here, like you don't have to be a jacked bodybuilder to be in crypto. Like you should be a smart dude that actually made the investments in the first place. But yeah, regardless, like he has a very interesting path that he's gone through for sure. So in terms of your content, because and we talked about this before. I know you said at least as of recently, this was before the podcast, a little bit of writer's block, right?
Yeah.
But I just like, how do you like ideate? How do you create ideas? And yeah, that's really my question. Just like, how do you go about that process?
So that I can't really pre-plan any content unless I'm gonna do like a workout video or something like that. Like if I'm gonna do a mic'd up video, then I have that portion planned. Like when I go to the gym today, I'm gonna have a mic on. But what I'm gonna say is just like I said, the shit that I'm thinking and the stuff that usually I'm yelling anyway. So the only difference is that there's a camera on. But a lot of it's very situational. Like I think my best performing video was the GNC one that ended up putting me in contact with Glaxxon and stuff. Mm-hmm. That was just a genuine situation that happened. I went into GNC and I'm by no means like a pro or anything like that.
It was like the GNC bro thing, right? It was like they're always fucking trying to one up you, like tell you what the fuck to buy. Yeah,
exactly. And it's always everyone relates to that because anyone who's been into a GNC knows that situation. Like they want to impart some sort of knowledge on you, but there's no requirements to work there.
No,
so I'm sure there's plenty of knowledgeable people that work there, but I just haven't run into them yet. And that the guy was just was following me around the store, and when I came in, he was like, "Do you need any help?" And I was like, "No, I'm good, just looking." And then he followed me around, like, "Have you had this one?" Like, "Yeah, I've had that one." And they don't have a ton of options. Like, if you live for a few years, you can probably run through all of their products. And he really wanted to school me on something in there, and he eventually gave up. But then I ended up picking up Glaxxon that day. But yeah, I just got in the car and ranted about that, and that took off.
Yeah, so. It did take off for sure. And it's funny that you say that. So here in town in Indiana, we have this place called 5 Star Nutrition. We've talked about it on the podcast before. I don't think they have one in Ohio.
No, they don't.
Or have you heard? I don't know if they have one. A supplement superstore, is that a thing?
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So it's like there's actually qualifications to actually work there. Like you actually have to be somewhat knowledgeable, and it's like not a bunch of jackasses trying to tell you what to fucking take. Yeah. So I used to be management there, and like now going to GNC, it's kind of funny because like they will try to do that, and I just like follow along with that. I'm like I just want to go in there and be like, hey, look, dude, I want to gain like 50 pounds in the next like 2 months of just pure muscle. Like, what do you have in the back room that's going to help me?
Yeah.
I just want to fucking ask them and see what they say. But okay, so you, and this is another touching point as well, Glaxxon, right? Because a lot of your videos actually revolve around them. And I will say, maybe you don't have the biggest following or anything like that, but you've been one of the biggest promoters for them that I've seen. And like, I've actually looked on their website literally just because of you, you know?
Yeah.
So you said you picked up Glaxxon right after the GNC thing. I'm curious about how that all came to fruition. And you've built a really good relationship with them as well. I've seen some of the care packages and stuff that they've sent you. Yeah. And obviously I know everybody and their mother's trying to get picked up by some fucking supplement brand or whatever. Yeah. Like that's the goal. And a lot of times you hear it's like, it's not just about like picking up the brand and, you know, selling a code and you're done. It's like you're trying to build a relationship with these people too. So talk about like your experience with Glaxxon, and hey, shout out Glaxxon.
Yeah, shout out Glaxxon. So it was literally just luck. I recorded that GNC video and I was so high energy, and then once I was done ranting, I stopped and watched it back, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't like sign off in that. And I was like, well, I've lost my energy now. Like I'm done ranting. How do I end this video? And then I just looked over and saw the Glaxxon specimen that I got. So I just pressed record, and I was like, I picked up some Glaxxon specimen review coming later or whatever. And I don't even think, I know I didn't tag them, but I don't think I hashtagged Glaxxon or anything. And they somehow saw it and asked for the review. So I did the review on it, posted that. And then they asked for my address to send me some products. And I figured they would send like a like a pump formula or something, and they sent like just all this shit.
A fuck ton of stuff.
So much stuff. And they've done that a few times now. And that, like, even that was, I mean, obviously it meant, like you said, I don't have a huge following. And no matter, like, you can build relationships with these companies and stuff, and they can want to work with you, but at the end of the day, it is a business. And
right.
They have to make money, and which is completely understandable. But, yeah, they've just really supported me. I mean, even that's huge. Not having to pay for supplements, that's a game changer.
That is a fucking game changer, dude. Yeah. Giving yourself, that one up, not, I don't even know how to phrase this. That extra edge, so to speak, and not even having to pay for it. Like, that's a fucking huge ass advantage that you have, you know? And you're not the biggest yet, but they see that potential as well. And like you said in the beginning of this too, it was like, I lost my train of thought. Damn it.
But yeah, they said the same thing. 'Cause I was kind of worried about that. I had my reservations with working with them because I wanted them to see a return on their investment. And I honestly didn't know if I could provide that, because I was like, I know that people will support me the first month, like family and friends and stuff, but am I going to bring them returning customers? And once I actually saw the support on that, there was family and friends that supported, but majority of the people that buy products with my code, I have no clue who they are. And really? I hate that because I can't thank them for it. But yeah, I think I've maybe gotten a few messages from people saying like, hey, I used your code today, which is code Jakob, by the way, Jakob. But
link in the description down below.
Yes. But yeah, other than like a few people, it's all been strangers, which is awesome. Like that's really cool that people are actually supporting. So that blew my mind.
That is the power of TikTok, my friend. Yeah. It is. Yeah, TikTok has been any of the new media formats, right, have been an absolute fucking blessing, because it really only takes like one video to just take the fuck off at this point for you to, become a viable force in this. And it's like right now for you, you're just a ticking time bomb. It's just like, you may have that one spark idea that you think is going to be a fucking shitty, and all of a sudden it just like takes off, right? Like just like that GNC video, you didn't think anything of it, right? You're just like, yeah, I'm just going to make this. And yeah, I mean, you probably thought it was solid, you're like, yeah, this is a good video, whatever. Yeah. And then just boom.
And that was the first one also. That's a longer video. It's like a minute long. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the hardest things, is to keep people's attention. Like those minute-long videos are hard for some people. But if you look at the analytics on that one, I retained the viewership through the entire video from almost everybody that watched it. And it was like, that's fucking awesome.
That's
like,
big time.
People actually wanted to see this through this whole minute. They wanted to see my face.
But I think we both figured out, like, man, social media, especially if you want to really start to pave a way in terms of, making that your full-time profession or whatever you want, it's a job. It's a big investment. And so, you talked about it earlier, is like, you're going to deal with things like writer's block, especially if, like, it's one thing to just be fit and aesthetic. You're Chris Bumstead. You can just fucking lift 150 pounds and then post that and you get 250,000 likes on Instagram, right? Yeah. But it's a totally different thing to be, like a creative mind and actually like provide interesting, unique conversation, and try to do that consistently. That's very, very difficult. And have you gone through like phases of like, fuck, I don't really know what to post right now? Obviously, you'll go through some good creative phases, but like, have you gone through like a couple different like down spirals, like down slumps before?
Yeah, for sure. That's always going to come and go though. You're not going to feel creative every day.
How do you get yourself kind of out of the slumps, so to speak?
Like I said, all of my stuff is really situational. And sometimes it's not even really a slump with anything going on with me. It's just I haven't had anything happen to me. Nothing exciting's happened. So then there's
living mundane life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and sometimes that can even just come down to me having a lazy week or something. Like I'm not going out or anything like that. So it always comes back around. Those situations always pop up.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just curious because I'm in a little different facet when it comes to content. I just record like fucking high quality shit, and it's just like as much as I can record is as much as I can do, you know. It's like limitless at that point. I don't necessarily have creators like writer's block. It's just like, can I get stuff booked and scheduled, you know, for other people.
Extremely high quality, by the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to be upgrading the setup too soon here. I got a lot of gigs. A lot of gigs right now. But yeah, and side note, anybody out there trying to get into photography production, go ahead and hit me up because I will definitely help you out. I am an open book when it comes to that stuff, and I've been inspired by some of the greats. LT Visual, shout out Vic Visual as well. That man is a godsend, man. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before. We had him on the most recent episode, episode 24. He's helped me out a tremendous amount. I just send that dude my projects and he just gives me advice. He's just like, yo, do this or do that or do this. And I'm like, fucking awesome. So yeah, it's about surrounding yourself with those kinds of people though.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I'm curious, you know, you talked about obviously visiting the Houstons, visiting the zoo cultures of the world. Is there any place right now that you'd want to like relocate? Like if you had just didn't have to worry about finances or anything like that, would you relocate somewhere else, and where would you go?
Probably Houston. That's the hotbed right now. And I just feel like, I mean, there is a lot of people there. Like when the last meetup, what was it? The summer shred?
Yeah, the summer shredding last week. Yep.
There were so many people there. I don't know if I could deal with like that many people, but during a normal week, it's just, that's where I want to be. It's the Mecca right now.
It is the Mecca. Like, I know obviously people associate LA with like that creative culture and stuff like that. And it's interesting, you know, because we're in this little community, right? And you'll probably talk to like, you know, your mom or your dad or even some of your friends, right, that really aren't in this, and they don't understand at all like what the hell you're talking about. Like I've told people like, I want to move to Houston. They're like, why? And I'm like, it's a hotbed right now. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, dude, like you literally just have to go see it to understand like what it is. It's like literally, you know, I made the analogy of like, okay, so on NBA 2K, you know, they have like the 1992 All-Star team with like fucking Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Magic Johnson and all those other people. It's like that, but in Houston. Yeah, and you get to work with them, you know, like you just see those people all the time. Like, would that not be dope? And that's what that place is becoming, and it's becoming the ultimate travel spot, one, but two, you know, if you got the opportunity to live there, then, I mean, you have no idea what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, exactly. And also Glaxxon is like right by Houston.
Really?
Is where they're located. And then
That's
also
HQ?
Anaka. Yeah. HQ's Houston. And then also Anaka's there. And that's the dream right now.
That is the dream
Power.
for you. Yeah. Talk about what, obviously I know, hey, shout out Glaxxon, by the way, again. But you've definitely been inspired by a few different brands. I know we already talked about Jacked Italian, but like, what are some of the brands that you really like right now too? So Naka obviously being one of those.
That's pretty much it, honestly.
What's your draw? Like, why do you like their stuff in particular?
I don't know. I loved Raw Gear for most of my fitness journey, and I kind of had my issues with them before this like public stuff all started to happen, and it really has nothing to do with the brand but more of just the culture, because I had become friends with some of their athletes and stuff, and just hearing what they had to say about being out in LA and all of that stuff, how it affected their mental health, and a lot of people talking about how everything is transactional out there. Like if you don't offer something, then people don't really want to be friends with you and stuff like that. I just don't get that vibe from Anaka, because I mean, Big Baller Ant, he's the head of marketing, like number 2 at Anaka. He's got like 7,000 followers or something like that.
Yeah, probably like 10, 11, 12, something like that. Yeah, I've always thought he's very interesting because I've never really understood. I feel like he came out of like nowhere almost.
Yeah, he did.
But he's like he's just been there for so long. I think he's probably originally from Houston. That's my guess. I don't know. But he's just been there for so long, and he's just made all these little connections over time that he finally got himself a seat. And he's doing fucking awesome, by the way. Holy crap. In the marketing department for Anaka, I mean, Alphalete is still going to be the king down there regardless. That is probably the biggest American fitness brand that I can think of right now when it comes to gym clothing and apparel. But, you know, it's all of his friends, right? I mean, like Shawley, you got Max Tuning, you got, I mean, Buff Bunny, like Heidi's down there too. Russell or he, but I'd say Shawley and what they're doing at Anaka right now in terms of the marketing side is like unprecedented. Like, have you seen some of their recent ones where it's like the 3D animated fucking like gorillas on there, like typing out something on a computer and it's like new pre-workout. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And they're expanding like crazy. They keep going into all these different facets. Like now they're doing the pre-workout and they just keep adding things in terms of their apparel collection too.
Shawley is an animal. That guy.
That man's a monster.
They're both extremely hard workers, but he's working on Anaka Estates, like townhomes. Has nothing to do with fitness, but he's a grinder.
That's the whole vibe down there.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not, I mean, it's about like full proofing, full providing for your life, not just like, I mean, yeah, obviously they're trying to be beacons of inspiration and all those different kinds of things, but you know, for their own personal sake, they want to be successful too, right?
Absolutely.
So, and they're doing a fantastic job of that and inspiring a whole generation. So I actually didn't know about that, the Naka Estates. Hey, maybe you'll move down there in January. Let's find some shitty podunk jobs and just send it.
I would love to.
All right. Well, I'll call you up in November.
All right, sounds good. But as far as Anaka goes, also just I vibe with their apparel the most. I was, like I said, always the fat kid, so tight clothing was never my thing.
Yeah.
So Anaka's more pump covers and mesh shorts and stuff like that. So I love the designs. Their design team is crazy too.
Yeah. All encompassing. Anaka Power is definitely probably, although, I mean, it's definitely becoming a big name in this sphere, but yeah, I'd still say it's on the slight low-key side. There's still some people that don't know about it. That's going to be the next one to really, really take off, and they're doing a lot of good things. Let's say you moved down to Houston, right? Who would you love to work with down there? You've already talked about Shawley. You've already talked about Jack Italian. You've talked about Marco. Like who else?
That's a good question. I don't know. There's a few that I know are in Houston that their names are escaping me, but it's mostly just guys on TikTok that seem pretty cool. It's a lot of the guys that work out at Alpha Land.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Hold on, I got to think. Give me a second. I got writer's block now myself. God.
But yeah, as far as people that I would just love to work with, regardless, obviously Willie is a huge one. He's one of the first fitness TikTokers that I ever encountered. So Willie, I would love to work with. And then there's a lot of them. There's so many. Baxter that we were talking about earlier, Baxfit. I would love to work with him. I just love his sense of humor. It's really similar to mine, so I would really love to work with him. But there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there is a lot down there. Yo, so obviously, we've had Willie on the podcast before, Mr. Willie Zane, shout out. And like me being honest, so I'm not on TikTok really at all, just because for me personally, it's toxic as fuck.
It is.
I just spend like way too much fucking time on it, so I gotta stray away, and I put my basically the rest of that time into fucking Instagram, which isn't better. Yeah. But you know, I'd rather just have one vice than two. But Willie, just from everybody that I talk to, shining star. Hey, shout out Willie. I'm gonna send this to you afterwards. You're gonna watch this shit. I hope you do. But yeah, what was like your initial encounter with him on social media, like on TikTok? Did you get a chance to like talk to him too a little bit through the app?
We've talked a little bit, yeah. So I always just kind of admired the fact, like, because I understood him as soon as I watched him. Like, he's corny, but he's in on the joke. Like, he knows that he's corny and he doesn't care. And so much of his like hate comments and stuff were like, dude, you're so corny. It's like, he knows that's what he's trying to do. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Like, you're hating on him, but it's a compliment to him. And I just always admired the fact that he never changed anything about himself because of that hate. Like, he always just embraced who he was. And that, to answer your question from earlier, that was a huge part of what made me start to
like a big
myself.
fan of
Yeah.
his. Oh, and for yourself, you're saying too?
Like, I really started to be more myself on social media when I saw Willie.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, Elias and Willie were the ones that really developed that relationship together, and that's how all of that conspired. Because those two are literally two fucking peas in a pod, bro. I'm telling you. Like when they came here together, I thought they were like brothers. Like it was kind of scary. It was like they'd met like 100 times, but they'd never met once in person, which is kind of crazy. Man, we're gonna have to get them back for a little. We can do a little quad collab.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
What else? What else do I have? So we've talked a lot about Houston, obviously. I think, like I said, it's just a fucking hotbed right now. There's so much to talk about there just because that's where, I mean, what would you say, like 80% of the concentration of like all the fitness content right now is coming out of there?
Probably about, yeah.
It's quite ridiculous. And there's a lot of different facets of content too. But there's, like I said, there's nobody that's doing what you're doing right now. Very few, I should say, in the way that you're doing it. So shout out you for doing what you're doing right now. And I hope you keep continuing doing what you're doing, because the thing that I enjoy the most is just fucking getting on social media and actually seeing one of your fucking funny ass posts where you break your fucking tailbone tackling dummies.
Yeah.
That shit's hilarious. Hold on, let me think here.
How did you get into fitness?
How did I get into fitness? Oh goodness, go watch episode 1. No, I'm just kidding. Holy shit. So I've invested like everything into like the fitness side for sure. Like I just graduated from Purdue last year with my bachelor's in kinesiology, and I have 2 PT certs. I worked at 5-Star Nutrition as management there. So like everything that I've done, I do production now in the fitness sphere. Yeah. Always something I've been interested in. My biggest inspiration is Christian Guzman. Like hands down, that dude as a self-made entrepreneur is something that I aspire to do myself. And I saw that as like 4 years ago as like a legitimate viable thing. And, you know, I hear a lot of the greats talking about this, like Ghost Supplements. I'm guessing you've heard of them before. So they were on Anaka Power Radio, and they were talking about how they were, you know, when they were creating their business and everything, you know, they I don't know what the term's called, like almost storyboarding, like they were, or a vision board is what it's called. You know, that 5 years from now, this is, you know, what they want the business to be. And, you know, they talked about the initial things like, hey, we want ambassadors, we want this, we want that. And they're like, literally, it took us like 5, 6, 7, 8 years to even do the stuff that we initially wrote down. And it's like now just coming to fruition, which is kind of crazy. And that's how I start to think of things now too. Like all the stuff that I wanted to do initially is like now happening, you know? Like this vision for this podcast was a year or two ago, you know, and now it finally comes into existence. But, I mean, yeah, just taking that leap on yourself. And in terms of fitness, I've started to get more invested into like my own personal fitness, especially with like photography production, because I've started to realize like, man, I shoot all this pretty shit of other people. Like I should do the same thing for myself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to look like a fucking piece of art like some of these other people do. Like Chris Bumstead, Jack Italian, like all these people, they are literally look like art. But obviously, you know, they're on a little bit of support. We're going to give them that. So, you know, that's your own independent choice. I'm not making that choice right now. So, but regardless, you know, I can achieve that good physique for myself.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've all gone through phases, right? Like there will be times where you don't want to fucking do the fitness thing and you kind of go into that binge eating spiral and you're depressed and all that shit. But recently I've just kind of realized like, hey man, if you don't do it now, then somebody else will.
Yeah.
And then you're outbeat, and it's, you know, you're going to be 32 by that point. You're going to be old, and you're going to have like 2 kids, and you're not going to be able to fucking do this anymore.
Yeah. I would like to be years into this routine by that point when it starts to get hard to stay in this routine.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the long story short, and I mean, you've probably come to this realization too, is like this shit does not blow up overnight. Like it really does not. You got to put in the time and you got to put in the effort in whatever way possible. You know, for me, it's, I mean, a lot of people, it's investing in their physique first and foremost. That's what I see a lot of people do. And then they start posting, and now the traction goes up almost instantly. Yeah. Other people though, like you know, they put their time and investment into just like just the content alone. And that's a slower growth. But as you get more consistent, you're going to see more consistent growth, and it's sustainable that way as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not afraid to show the journey. So, and I think a lot of people, that was a huge help also in me posting content. Was when I first started, I was like, why would anybody like watch me for fitness? like whether it's advice or otherwise. And then I finally realized like majority of the population doesn't relate to like the Joe Andrews, the Zach Andrews of the world. They relate to people like us that are going through the journey.
Literally like normal ass people. Yeah. Like us. Like you are like me, very normal person. You are definitely a very normal person. And like you said, that's probably like 99% of the population.
Yeah.
But of the fitness population, which is an even smaller group of the whole population, like 90% of us are just fucking normal ass people, you know? And like you said, yeah, I tend to relate a lot more to those people that are just like, I feel like I relate to them, you know? I'm like, yeah, bro, like I got to fucking pay my bills too. This shit sucks, you know? Like I'm not making 5 figures off a fucking code right now to be able to just provide for my life. Like, I mean, I think all of us would love to be there, but that's not fucking relatable.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Did you have any questions that anybody asked you? Have you had any questions that you'd want to answer on air at all? I should have done this beforehand. I should have had you post something to see if we could get some questions for you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I didn't put anything out yet about being on here.
Damn it. That's on us. Well, I still have a few more questions. I can ask some of the wrap up questions, not all of them. But I am curious to hear your answer to at least one of them, which is on the next episode of the InspoCast, episode 26 is what that would be actually. Who would you want to hear? And keep in mind, maybe. I think we're actually going to have one more guest before we leave. But keep in mind, we're going to be in Houston here in like 2 weeks. So whatever you say, we're going to push really hard to make it happen. So throw one out there for us.
Oh, man. I mean, obviously, I'd love to see the 2 guys we talked about already, Josh and Marco. But
all right.
That's been done before, though. InspoCasts are innovators. So,
ooh, InspoCasts are innovators.
I mean, you guys really are. Everybody wants the big names, but you guys are chasing the big names that aren't big yet. So, I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah, is there anybody that you follow down in Houston that's not necessarily like, you know, the big dog yet by any means, but like you really believe in what they're doing currently?
Oh, man, I don't know. That's a great question.
Because I will just say, you know, like we said, there's a high density of really good content coming out of Houston. There's a lot of creators that are in that, you know, 1,000 to 10,000 follower range that are really, really good right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously like James English and Sush and, you know, Jack I mean, they're all great. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They just have a longer standing track record. But there's people that are coming out with even more innovative shit than that because they got to be more creative. Shit's already been done, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they got a voice to share for sure. So, okay, but I'll keep those 2 in mind though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, hey, if we could get them on, that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
If not, I ain't gonna hate, you know. InspoCast is innovators. What have you thought of the InspoCast? Because you've been following for a little while now. Like on just kind of like the market that we're trying to like target here, so to speak, and just the podcast in general.
Well, like I told you the first time we talked, I thought it was such a cool idea because I think almost anybody that starts a podcast think, okay, how can we get the biggest names possible so that this will blow up as fast as possible? But at least to my knowledge, there's nobody that's doing it this way, trying to find the small people that have potential. So I just thought it was such a cool idea. But yeah, everything that I've heard, I was hooked. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we've kind of planned for this thing to be a long-term investment.
Yeah.
Because the people that we invest in this podcast, you know, when I say investment, I mean, you know, spending our time actually putting these together, putting them out there, which that in and of itself is very, very difficult. You know, to push 24 episodes as fast as we did was a little shy north of a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much you heard from all the podcasts. We talk a lot of shit in here, but like, I mean, Elias was up in school about 2 hours away every single weekend driving back here to do these episodes. Sometimes we would do 4 in a weekend, like no joke. And then the next day he's got to go back, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was the kind of shit that we were doing. Not as much anymore. We're chilling out just a little bit because we're kind of dipping our toes in some other areas too. But yeah, no, it's been a fucking grinder. And going back to the whole like investing in people, like, you know, you coming on this podcast, one, I hope gives you exposure, but like two, the bigger thing is, you know, I think you're going to gain more consistency when it comes to the creative side, and you're going to keep developing your community. Because yeah, obviously you may not, you don't have 1 million followers on TikTok, but the 4,000 people that you have that are actually listening to you are tuned in, dude. Yeah. Like that's 4,000 people that are 100% on your side. And I think there's a lot of these big influencers, they probably can't say the same about their 200, 300,000 million followers that they have.
And so, you know how crazy, like I think I'm at like 4,800 or something like that. That's so
almost 5K.
many people. Like I work at a comedy club. Shout out to Funny Bone. I love you guys.
Oh my gosh, you got to talk about that too. What the hell? I didn't know that.
It's fucking crazy. Like you can't describe working at a comedy club unless you work in one, but it's literally like the land of misfit toys. Like everybody has, like, bringing it back to the having screws loose, but all of us just love each other so much, and we're all genuinely best friends. I couldn't ask for a better workplace. It's literally like, because we work weekends, I literally just can't wait for the weekend to go to work. But what was my
so you were talking about those 4,800 people that were following you.
So I work at a comedy club, and I think we seat like 400 people is our capacity, and that's a shit ton of people.
That's a lot of people.
400. So it's like I could sell that bitch out like 10 times or whatever.
Yeah. I talked to Willie. I remember when he came on here because he was at like 60K or something like that. I don't even remember where he was at.
He was 48, 46
okay.
when he was on. Yeah.
I don't even know what he's at right now. I just
listened to it on the way here for the second time. So
oh my gosh. Fucking #1 supporter over here. I fucking love you. Thank you. But I was like, dude, so imagine this. You live in Michigan, right? Imagine going to Michigan University and you're standing in the middle of the field and all your followers in the seats. You filled the whole entire fucking stadium. You have a stadium of fucking people just sitting behind you watching your shit, bro.
Yeah.
That's absurd. 5,000 people is still absurd, you know? I get nutty about the fucking 900 I have on Instagram. I'm like, fuck yeah, at least I got 900 people that actually are like tuned into this shit, you know?
Yeah. I think 900 on Instagram, honestly, probably means a little bit more than 5,000 on TikTok, because Instagram is a grind. That is hard to grow. Like I had, in the span of a week and a half, I had 3 reels hit at least over 1 million, and I'm at 1,400 followers. I think my engagement or whatever was 4 million people that week or something like that, and the return on that was 1,400 followers, which I'm blessed to have 1,400 followers.
Yeah, that's
I'm so
solid.
Appreciative, but like it's a grind.
No.
Instagram is not easy.
Yeah, so we have a friend. I was trying to get him on here to be the co-host, the sub-in co-host for the day. His name's Jake Butcher. He's a monster, and I hope one day to be his full-time film man. That would be fucking awesome. You're hearing this here first, Jake. He already knows, but so Instagram works very interestingly. We can talk a little bit about the algos because I'm curious about the TikTok algo. I don't really know much about it, but the Instagram algo I know pretty well, and that is from 0 to 9,999 followers is a fucking grind. Like you're going to grind your cock off and you're going to get, some pretty organic followers in the process too. You will. But it's going to be very difficult to get there. Like I know one guy, he collabs with a guy named Now Naga. He was a former Purdue University grad. He's sponsored with like Young LA, basically all of the biggest brands in the world. His name's K-pop Goku on fucking Instagram. It's great. But I think he lives with him honestly in California. And this Nathan guy is jacked. I'm saying fucking pieced. And so I remember when he first started, he was at like maybe 200 followers. And now 3 months later, he's at like 8,000, which I mean, that's fucking insane. Right. But like in TikTok terms, from what I would understand, you'd probably be at like 70,000, which I don't exactly know how it works, but with Jake, I remember, so he's been building his profile and his physique for the past like 5 years. No joke. And it was in February or March that he hit 10,000. Okay. So I paid very close attention. And that's the cool thing about this InspoCast. I'm starting to learn like how these people are actually like doing what they're doing, cause I literally I pick them up now. Like somebody I talked about, Rodney, right? I had 2,000, went to 35,000. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And what kind of tactics they're using, but he hit 10,000. The next day he was at 12,000. The next day he was at 13.5. The next day he was at 15.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? So once you hit 10,000, one, you become monetized. Two, you start to hit the explore page.
Yeah.
So that's when things really pick up. But like I said, the first 10,000 suck. Now, what's the TikTok fucking algo here? What do I need to do to fucking blow up?
Good question. I have no idea.
Post fucking 20 TikToks a day and just hope one of them hits?
I guess so, yeah. I don't know. I can't do like we talked about before, I can't do the quantity over quality anymore. I'm going to focus on just making sure that I make the videos that I want to be making.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to, I just don't want to be doing trends or anything like that anymore. I don't want to just be doing the TikToks where it's you doing a set and there's a bunch of text on the screen, where it's all tricks to you do a 4-second video with a paragraph of text so that they have to watch it on a loop to read the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
I genuinely want people to engage for what I have to say. I don't want there to be any tricks involved. And then if you look at the guys that, like Josh and Marco, do you think they're worried about what the trends on TikTok are? No, not.
They set the trends.
Exactly. And that's what I want to focus on.
Yeah. They don't give a fuck at this point, They figured out the formula, which is if you're just original, things will inevitably pan out for you. That's 100% the truth. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And like we talked about at the beginning, it's not about the followers. It really isn't. And that's the whole point of the InspoCast too. It's not about the following. It's about just the communities that you're building up, these little communities that we're building up inside.
Yeah.
And like we said, this sphere is just so much smaller than we really think it is, which is cool. This podcast literally could not have happened without the power of social media, but also just how small some of these communities are too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fucking pumped about that. But okay, any other things that you want to talk about? Because we're probably hour 15 into this bad boy.
Really?
Yeah, probably. Maybe an hour.
Nah, I don't think so.
No, you got nothing else you want to talk about today?
Oh, we touched on the funny bone.
Oh yeah, we did. That's actually really cool. Who are some really quick? Who are some of the cool comics that you've actually gotten to see there?
A ton. It started out because when I was 18, maybe, I was going to a lot of comedy shows, and I was right out of high school, broke, and I was I'm spending way too much money on this, and also a lot of clubs you have to be 21 to get in.
Right.
So I was it would just be a lot smarter to get paid to do this instead of paying for this stuff. So I just went and applied there, and I'm on the door staff, so we're essentially security. Mm-hmm. And it's so fun, meeting, and I was always a huge comedy fan, so meeting a lot of my heroes and stuff, I've had some of the coolest interactions with people that I've always idolized. But we are a club though, so we don't get we're not going to get the Kevin Harts of the world and stuff like that. But we have had Rob Schneider from all the Adam Sandler movies, a ton of people the Wayans brothers, the Tony Rock, Chris Rock's brother. There's a ton of people like that, just really cool people.
And they're all funny as hell. They actually are funny as hell. So, no, that's actually super cool. And I'm guessing that's probably, your inspiration in terms of the comedy side. Because I grew up on Netflix watching the Kevin Harts and the Joe Rogans and the fucking all of them of the world. That was something very enjoyable for me. But you're a cool blending between, you're actually taking that and you're implementing that into something that you're passionate about now. Yeah. So you are one of a kind, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Carroll. Fuck yes. Make sure to go check all of his shit down in the link below, because I know you motherfuckers watched all the way through to this. I know you did, because I know you love this conversation. Okay, well, anything else you want to talk about the comedy club?
I don't think so.
Before we get a nasty pump in today?
Oh, I'm excited.
I am too.
I haven't worked out all week because, like I said, I was house sitting down in Kentucky, so I wasn't close to the gym.
Oh, shit.
I'm ready.
Oh, shit. Well, it's going to be a good one. You're going to get into a beast facility. But
I'm excited.
We gotta finish this podcast off with 2 more questions, okay? And the first one is going to be InspoCast. InspoCast wants to give you a platform today, okay? Obviously, you know, we give you a platform by being able to tell your story and all those other things. But for you, more specifically, a platform to talk to your audience, whoever that is, right? Your 4,000 followers on social media, the people that you believe that resonate with your message the most, whoever is going to find this message that you believe resonates with that, whoever. Just give them one last piece of wisdom and advice from Jacob Carroll.
I guess I would just say to be yourself unapologetically. Never worry about judgment. Just be exactly who you are. Whatever you want in life is possible. It might be a grind. It might take a while, but just take it slow and it'll all come to you.
And you very much live that message as well. Like 100%. Live life to the fullest, unapologetically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I appreciate that from you and the transparency and the honesty you give in your content. And I know a lot of other people do. And people out there, take that into consideration. Don't be scared to go after your fucking dreams just because you think somebody's going to give you shit for it.
Exactly.
Last one for you, okay? In the comment section down below, what do you want the audience to comment?
If they watched all the way through.
They did. They did.
When they watch all the way
when
through.
they watch all the way through, because I know y'all motherfuckers made it this far. I know you did.
What was Willie's fart? Was that what his
I think it was. We've had a lot of fucking interesting ones, to say the least.
That's a good one.
It can be whatever you want. Hashtag whatever the fuck you want in the comment section down below for the algo, baby.
Hashtag unapologetic.
Ooh, get out your dictionary, folks. Hashtag unapologetic in the comment section down below. All lowercase. Hit it up. Fucking spam it 20 times. It brings viewership to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. All of the links for Mr. Carroll are going to be down below. Make sure to go check out his TikTok. Make sure to go check out his Instagram. Be using the Glaxxon code. They have some really, really, really good products. And speaking this into existence, go to Anaka Power, use code Jacob.
Absolutely.
But that's it from me, my friend. You got anything else?
I think that's it. I really appreciate this opportunity. It means a lot.
And thank you for making the drive. Guys, he drove 3 fucking hours. He's going to drive 6 hours a day to make this thing happen. And we're forever grateful for that. Obviously, we love the in-person podcast. They tend to go just a little bit better. You know, they honestly do. And it's cool to be able to collaborate in this community. And stay tuned for the next few episodes as well, because they are going to be absolutely heat. If you listen to the episode, which I know you fucking did, you're going to hear some of the guests that we got on here. And it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good ride down in H-Town. But that is going to conclude episode 25 of the InspoCast. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.